Hello Year 9, it's Miss Carew here, bringing you some information about GCSE history. So why is it important to study history? Our curriculum statement is that history is about critical thinking and empowerment of knowledge, giving you the power to be able to navigate the wider world. And the powerful knowledge that history gives us helps us understand the wider world. It helps us understand different cultures and different beliefs and to develop tolerance and acceptance for all of those in our world. And history also helps us to develop the ability to think critically. So to criticise, to dig deeper, to reflect, debate, discuss, analyse. When we look at the past and present, we need to use these skills, and the way that we do that is by generating lines of inquiry. And that means that we're questioning, we're creating a hypothesis, we're setting a statement and testing it to see how true those things are, and that helps us to form our own opinions. Because life is about navigating through information, and history helps us to question and challenge what people say, what they write, what they publish, and it helps us to critically analyse opinion and fact-check information, most importantly. History trains us to see through fake news and take part in society. This is what we mean by empowerment of knowledge. The skills that studying history gives you, helps you to be a much more critical, informed and tolerant citizen.
So as you can see, there are many reasons to study history. Primarily, history is a facilitating subject. This means that the skills that you learn in history complement a huge amount of other subjects, other disciplines, and a range of careers. It gives you cultural awareness. It helps you to learn from the mistakes of the past, but also the successes of the past. It gives students skills that are not confined just to the study of the past, but are transferable. These transferable skills are massively valuable in many jobs. Being able to analyse and prioritise information is vital to decision making, which you will have to do in most of the careers that exist. Studying history builds your independence as well. It gives you a skill set to be able to keep your career options open. Also, universities really like it. They really respect it. The study of history gives you a wide range of careers that facilitate general academic qualifications in addition to those that require specific historical knowledge. It's looked upon very, very favourably by Russell Group universities as well.
So what careers are possible with a GCSE in history, or indeed when you go on to an A-level in history? There's a huge range, so working in the media, news, TV, broadcasting, any realm of the business world, research, law, the civil service, so working for the government, teaching, education, police, journalism, public relations, so working with people, getting them to work together, looking at advertising, companies like Amazon, Sony, all those sorts of things. Personnel management, so looking after people, making sure people are well in the workplace. Social work, looking after children, looking after adults in society. Politics, getting into politics, becoming an MP, looking at the political side of our country, the police, education, government intelligence, and so many more. All of these careers are possible because of the skills that you develop within this subject. And so many more. Remember, history is a facilitating subject, so it's the skills that you learn that makes you so valuable to employers. And you can use history to be a really niche history specialist, like the careers on the left, but the careers to the middle and the right are careers that can lead you to such a huge range of things, and it's the skills that you're learning of argument, source analysis, problem solving, writing an essay, critical thinking, being analytical, research, all of those things can lead to a huge range of different jobs, and this is just a small snippet of some of those that it can lead to.
At Coombe, we follow the Edexcel Pearson exam specification board at GCSE, and we study 4 separate topics, but they are examined in 3 papers. So if you can see the one in the middle, paper 2, is a depth study and a period study, and there are 2 topics that are examined in 1 exam sitting session. The first unit that you'll start with is Elizabethan England, and then we'll move on to the migration in Britain paper and the Germany paper, and then we finish the course with American West.
As you can see, there are 3 exam papers with varying percentages and varying times on there. One thing to remember is that there is no coursework in GCSE history. Everything is examined at the end of year 11. So you have to remember what you're being taught at the start of year 10 at the end of year 11. So you have to retain that knowledge for 18, 19, 20 months, depending on when your exam is. So as well as being an excellent historian, evaluative, understanding of the course, loving the knowledge, you've got to have a really good memory to succeed at GCSE history. As you can see, everything is examined at the end of year 11. So you've got to know your stuff, and you've got to be keen to revise constantly, not just at the end of the year, but at the beginning of the year and constantly as homework goes through the whole course. So we're going to kick off GCSE history with Elizabethan England from 1558 to 88. This is the first unit that we'll teach you because it is gripping and it's going to help you build on some of the learning that you've done in Key Stage 3. If you love a bit of gossip, a bit of scandal, this is the unit for you. We look at the trials and tribulations that Queen Elizabeth I faced when she became a queen. Her father was a tyrant, her mother was accused of witchcraft, her brother was a king at the age of 9, and her sister, Bloody Mary, had a nickname that stuck forever. So how did Elizabeth managed to avoid all of this scandal that surrounded her family? Did she avoid it, or did she become part of it? Was she really the Virgin Queen? Did she really deserve to be called Good Queen Bess? Who plotted against her? Who tried to kick her off the throne, and why? This is the first unit that we give you to get you starting to really think about the work of a historian, to evaluate and assess how good a queen was Elizabeth I. So we'll look to finish Elizabethan England by about Christmas, and then after Christmas we'll be looking at Weimar and Nazi Germany. It's very important that you remember that this topic focuses on Nazi Germany, but also on the Weimar government and how they held power after World War I. We don't look at either of the world wars, but what we look at is how governments tried to lead between these 2 world wars. So if you've ever wondered how countries are led by terrible people and how those people have been able to get into power and how evil can rise and how dictators get away with doing what they did and how checks and balances seem to fall apart and how governments can thrive and rise but also fall and be taken down by the people, in this unit, we look into that political side of Weimar and Nazi Germany. So we look at how World War I caused World War II. So that really links quite nicely with some of the things that you've been learning in Year 9 to get you comfortable with this content. We look at why a democratic government couldn't keep power. Why were they ousted? Why did you need a wheelbarrow to buy a loaf of bread? Why were people so frightened of communism? And did society actually allow the rise of evil, the rise of the Nazi Party? And who rebelled, who protested, who went against this regime? All will be revealed in January of Year 10. So Elizabethan England and Weimar and Nazi Germany are depth studies. This next one that will begin probably after the Easter holidays of Year 10 is a thematic study. And it means that we have one theme or one topic and we study that topic over a really huge span of time. So the topic that we're looking at are migrants in Britain and the experience of migrants in Britain from the year 800 all the way up to present day. So if you want to learn more about the diverse history of Britain, who travelled to Britain, why, how migration has shaped Britain today, in this unit we aim to represent the diversity of British history through current and past events in Britain. We'll look at things like the Viking invasion, William the Conqueror, 1066 Battle of Hastings. We'll look at how people were thrown out of France because of the religion that they chose, fearing for their lives, and how they were accepted into England by Elizabeth I. We'll look at the role of cities like Liverpool in the 19th century and how they helped support migrants and how migrants ended up contributing hugely to the industrial structure of our country. including that of the Irish migrants. We'll look at the experience of Jewish migrants in Victorian East End of London, and we'll be looking at the Plymouth experience as well. We look at people that were part of the Polish Air Force and how after the wars they came over and stayed in Britain because they weren't able to go back to their country, and how they were welcomed and settled. We'll look at people that were fleeing World War I, World War II, the kinder transport as a result of the Holocaust, for example. We'll also be looking at case studies throughout this unit. So every time period, we focus on a different city or a different place and how migration has impacted that place. So we'll look at York, we'll look at Soho, Spitalfields, Bristol, Leicester, Notting Hill, the Caribbean carnivals, Notting Hill Carnival, the celebrations of diversity, and the impact that migration has had on Britain. It's an amazing unit. It's a brilliant unit to learn the wide sweep of diverse history that we are so proud to have in Britain. So as the migration unit is a pretty big one, it's a big thematic study, we will probably finish the migration unit by about October of year 11. Then you'll have your mocks, and then after those we'll begin our study of the American West. So this is what we call a global study or a wider world study. And we've chosen this one because it connects really well to our Plymouth history of that of the Wampanoag tribe and the Mayflower passengers that you learnt in year 8. And it's looking at what happened to those indigenous people, those Native American people, a couple hundred years on after the settlement of the Mayflower in 1620. So have you ever wondered why we call it the Wild West? In this unit, we discover what was so wild about the American West. Who were the cowboys? How did their behaviour impact the Native American people? Was America really the land of hope and opportunity? Did anybody win out of the gold rush, of everybody rushing to gold mine and get rich? What caused the Civil War? What happened with the emancipation of slavery? In this unit, we look at the hidden history of America. We look at the movement of European settlers across America and how they tried to destroy the Native American way of life, and whether or not that was successful, and how so if it was, and how not if it wasn't. We also look at lawlessness in the West, the fact that they couldn't get enough sheriffs and police force out there to police things. We look at stories of cannibalism on the journey across the Great Plains and the mountains to get to the West. And we look at things like peaceful coexistence. How did that change? How did repressed people fight back? How did they protest against what was happening with this huge sweep of migration to the American West? And obviously, I've just said the word migration, so it knits really nicely in with the theme of migration in our previous topic as well. So that's it. That's what you study at Coombe for history. So really, why should you study history at Coombe? We offer you loads of support. We have a really good understanding of the course and the exam. We give you recipe cards which help you structure your answers, tick lists, course booklets, structure strips to help you structure your answers. Marking and feedback is regular. We will give you one-to-one support when needed, and we give you a love of history that we can pass on, hopefully, to you guys, that you can then take with you into the future. So to study history at Coombe, you do need to have an interest in the past. You need to like history. You need to have a questioning and inquiring mind. And you need to have a positive work ethic, a positive attitude to learning. There is a lot of essay writing in history. We're not going to lie to you. There is a lot of writing in this subject. We use peel paragraphs very regularly. You need to be able to reach a judgment and analyse sources. We use the 3 C's and 3 P's, just like what we do at Key Stage 3 at GCSE as well. You do need to be quite independent. You need to want to research, want to complete your homework. You need to be able to manage your time. GCSE history is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So cramming with facts and dates last minute for your exam will not suffice. That's not enough. You need to be keen to do the work well as we go along. You really do need to be a keen writer. If you struggle with writing but you love history, we will help you. If you absolutely do not like writing at all, it might be worth thinking about whether this is the right option for you. The exam paper is essay focused. There is writing in every single question. There are structure strips to help you build up that skill, and we will help you get there if you are enthusiastic and you want to work hard. So this is an example of what an essay looks like in history. You have 4 exam papers, remember, and there will be a big essay question in every single one of them, as well as a range of few smaller question answers. So for an essay question, you would normally write approximately 3 to 4 complex peel paragraphs with an introduction and a conclusion. And then in the same paper, you will have an explain question, which will require 2 to 3 peel paragraphs, and then some describe and some source analysis questions. So we want to be really open with you guys about what the essays look like. This is a typical essay written by a history student.
Is super important in history. We say educate once a week, and we do expect you to repeat the quizzes until you achieve 100%. And this is because the educate quizzes help you commit this learning that we're teaching you in class to your long-term memory. Homework is super important in history. You have so much content to remember, and it's super interesting and we love it. But imagine you have to remember the stuff that you learn at the beginning of year 10 right at the end of year 11 to help you make sure that you're successful in your exams, and that's what we want to ensure. So homework is super important in history. Educate homework tends to take between about 30 to 60 minutes a week. We do also set revision homework at the end of each topic, just like in Key Stage 3. We give you a knowledge organiser to rag rate, and then you can create your revision resource that you can keep and reuse before the mocks and the exams. That can be flashcards, it can be mind maps, it can be whatever format you find the most helpful for your learning. Sometimes we might set you a documentary to watch to make a timeline alongside, and we always give you optional extras like podcasts and things like that too. But homework is super important in history, and we do expect you to complete it in a timely manner and understand that we're setting it because we really care about your progress and we have to build your long-term memories in history.